Welcome, Jago, to Hiker's Dream. I'm here broadcasting from Baja. My name's Landslide, and today we're interviewing Jago, which has been active in the hiker trail community, and we love to talk about what you're doing right now. Maybe give us some background first, and then you can go into what's going on right now, because there's a lot going on that you're doing. So your
Yeah,
background first.
the background story is I do a lot of adventures, and in the years that I do a lot of my own adventures, most of them are paddle sports adventures. I would run across PCT and TRT hikers in Tahoe. That's how I originally became familiar with PCT. Where I stay in Tahoe is at the Mellow Mountain Hostel, which is also a hangout for PCT hikers. And so it was natural that when I was driving into Tahoe, that I would pick them up at Echo Summit and then drive them to uh, Mellow Mountain Hostel. And I knew where that I worked part time in Tahoe, so I knew where everything was. And and then in the next morning, if they wanted to go, well, I would also paddle at Echo Lake. So I would drop them off and then go paddling. And that was kind of just a normal routine. And I just noticed that whenever it was hiking season, which I found out later was the bubble, the turns out that that was when all the PCT and the TRT hikers were coming through. So I'd help out. I would say somewhere in 2016, I had a client that I would see once or twice a month in Mammoth. I'm a nurse. I'm an ICU and critical care nurse, but
Hmm.
this gentleman was a friend of mine. So I was asked to go see him once or twice a month. And I do a lot of adventure sports, so I just found different adventures to do down Mammoth. However, I would catch up with PCT hikers down in Mammoth, and so I would just give them my. I made these little index cards, I think, that basically had my contact info, so that they could call me when they got to Tahoe. Um, let's see. Uh,
Have you hiked the PCT or the Tahoe Rim Trail? I mean,
no,
what's your hiking background?
I Yeah, I don't do a lot of hiking. In fact, I do much more day hiking than backpacking. I
Hmm.
have gone backpacking a couple of days. I think probably the longest amount of time backpacking was maybe 3 days, but not more than four, certainly. Um, and most of the times that those were, I can't remember what we called it back then, commando camping, where we just packed up and went and basically ate power bars for 3 days on it. I did a lot of backpacking and ocean kayaking, sea kayaking. So I've done a bunch of expeditions from my kayak and was very involved in water sports. I do a lot of whitewater kayaking, whitewater rafting, um, and I do a lot of snowboarding too. I started snowboarding in '93, and I've the reason what brings me to Tahoe so much is that I used to just recently retired ski patrol at Sierra Tahoe as a national. But I had plenty of days in it every year as a national. So that's how I got more and more involved with the PCT community. And then I had a friend that she lives in Gray Eagle, which is just outside of Quincy. And we all operated on index cards back then. And I would call her up and say, hey, these hikers are on their way north from Tahoe. Drop them off at Echo Summit or at Truckee and then call Sandy. And I believe it was 2020, 2021-ish, where I said, well, I'm just tired of calling you up every time. Why don't you just come up with a Facebook page? And they did have a defunct Facebook page, and no one knew who the admin was, and said, well, just make another one and popularize that one. Well, the town picked it up as soon as I volunteered to help her create the page. So I'm co-admin with her. And as soon as I literally the weekend that we set up the page, the town put it on their online newspaper. And I think we had 200 trail angels. This was pre-season. We had like 200 trail angels ready to rock. Before the season even started, within that first weekend of setting up the page. So
This is
we were really
Quincy, California PCT Trail Angels. That
yeah,
Facebook.
yeah,
Okay, good, good.
yeah.
No, you're
Um,
wonderful.
so that, with all of my knowledge from helping out the Trail Angels since 2005, and going down to Mammoth, and then I had climbing buddies in Bishop at Sea, and so I saw I saw hikers down in Bishop also, and then that's when I started helping hikers down towards Kearsarge, and then heading down towards Lone Pine and helping them out of Cottonwood Canyon. So that's when I started getting fully involved, probably 2019-ish. I remember 2017, there was a big fire that shut down 395 right south of Topaz. And I was taking hikers from Sonora Pass and or Bridgeport and driving them the long way around to South Lake Tahoe, um, where it was clear of the fire, but I literally, on the drive back to Sacramento where I live, um, they would call me and say, "Hey, are you still around? We can't hike in this air quality in the AQI." And so I remember I ended up having to pick them up and drive back, pick them up, and take them to eventually Old Station and Bernie and drop them off at the Word of Life Church. And I believe that was 2019. It might have been 2020. Everything kind of was a blur, but even in Bernie, it was pretty orange skies. It was pretty surreal at that time. And then the Dixie Fire hit, and that was pretty impressive too. And I was helping out hikers during the Dixie Fire. Yeah, and that's actually when I went full on, because I remember we had a costume party at the church in Bernie, and I got invited to and I became part of the tramily at that point, and that was definitely a good feeling. And instead of just being a typical trail angel, I was actually became part of the traveling. And then I realized I actually have the biggest traveling around once I started doing that. So yeah, so I literally have a register in my glove compartment, and I've got that many years of people that I've helped. Every single one of them is in my register. So it's I never get lonely.
Well, it sounds like you found your niche. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it has been, but I have had a blast. I get letters every Christmas and every holidays, and this time of year I've got people I've trail angeled 5, 6 years ago that said, "Hey, we're living in San Diego now. If you need anything, let us know." Or I live in Southern Oregon now. If you need to stop by or whatever, let us know. So I've got all sorts of friends and contacts along the trail. Yeah, and then the other thing is I keep their phone numbers, and all of their last names are the year. The PCT 2023, for instance, is their last name, and their first name is their trail name. So I actually don't know them by their real names. I only know them by their trail names, except for last year. That was a weird and wicked year. But if a fire peaks up, like when the McKinney fire picked up in Etna, I was able to mass blast everyone saying, "Don't reply to this, but there's a fire that just started in north of Etna." And then I was I got texted there were 50 people at mile, it was just outside of Weed, 1539, no-go mile, 1539. And so I stationed myself there to evacuate hikers. It was really tense at that time, and they were evacuating hikers on a chartered bus, the sheriff's office from Etna, with Jamie Tarney there. She's the former mayor of Etna, and she's this huge trail. Etna is such a beautiful town. Yeah, anyway, lots of fun, lots of good memories.
Do you remember, you've been around, do you remember Coppertone, the trail angel? Did you ever meet
I
him?
don't
You know
know.
about
I
him?
actually I didn't meet Eddie. I didn't even know I was a trail angel up until probably 28. It was literally only a couple of years ago that
Okay.
it was that was a kind of a fun story. I don't know how long we have, but she was a German woman, and she said what I found out later was I was her trail angel, but I couldn't figure out what she was saying. She had such a thick accent, and I think I eventually made her spell it out. And the funny thing is, I read a book a long time ago. My friends, Dustin Ballard and Angela, his wife, they wrote a book about the PCT. So I read that book a long, long time ago when they first wrote it, and it's called The Blistered Kind of Love, where they met on the PCT and eventually got married. So they're off in Bidet to Bay and having a good time. Let's see. So I read their book and kind of forgot about everything that it was about the PCT. Still remember some parts of the book, but certainly didn't absorb anything as mine. As a I was a bit player reading a book, and then what was it? When the German woman said trail angel, it kind of it sounded familiar. So I don't know what made me reread the book, but soon after that, I reread the book, and there's an entire chapter there of trail angels. I was like, oh, well, that's what she was saying. I'm a trail angel. I get it. There's actually a category for us. And that, I'm thinking maybe 2011-ish, 2012, 2013 kind of time. And so that's when I really started getting to become a trail angel. I don't even think I remember having any trail angel groups or these Facebook pages that I'm part of now. I don't remember that happening until at least 2020, 2019-ish.
Yeah, it was it's been yeah, there's so much more information now. You've got GPS and
Yeah,
everything than the 70s and 80s when people
yeah,
started really hiking it. But I was going to say Coppertone was a guy I remember. He was a trail angel in 2014 when my son and I did it, and he had a little RV. He'd go around different stops. He'd follow the bubble.
yeah.
He'd do root beer floats. That was his thing. Root beer floats. He'd have ice
I
cream.
do remember that. Yep.
But he was copper tone because he would run naked, and I saw him once, this naked man running up the hill, tennis shoes only, but he had a nice tan as the copper tone. But he would also hit all the mountains. He would run up he'd hit it, all the like Baden Powell, and he'd do all the mountains along the trail.
Yeah,
That was his thing. And then he'd do root beer floats for
that's pretty
the
funny.
kids,
Yeah,
the hikers. I don't know what
yeah.
happened.
I have been told about root, but I don't know. But I've heard the root beer float stories. Yeah, it's
And
been a while though.
oh yeah, yeah, I don't know what happened, but these are these kind of characters that you meet, and you're going to be one of them. You're going to be
Oh
there'll be legends about you. There probably are already.
yeah. I'm having just a bunch of fun. So I normally throw all my gear. I have a motorcycle. I have an electric mountain bike. I've got my river kayak, my sea kayak. I got my snowboard. So I just latch all that on, and I consider trail angeling just another sport. So I'm a master of going snowboarding in the morning and then going paddling in the afternoon. with all my multiple sports. And so now I've just added trail angeling as one of my sports that I do. So
What's good
I'll
about
trail angel in the morning and go paddle.
what's good, you have the first aid knowledge too, right? I mean, you're a medic, so that's really a plus.
Yeah.
Have you had any experiences helping people that way?
Oh
Injury?
yeah. In fact, yeah, last year was fun. It was a rabbit and tailwind. They posted something down south, I think in Idlewild, and they wanted to go to they were looking for urgent care, and I do a lot of remote trail angeling because I'm not on trail most of the time, but I am around a computer and on Wi-Fi when I'm not near a trail, and so I can easily look up urgent care in Idlewild. And so they said they were looking for an urgent care somewhere near Idlewild. They were worried that her foot was infected. And I said, well, just send me a photo. And I looked at the photo and I was like, that's not infected. You're fine. Keep it clean. You're okay. I would take a couple of days if you can, but that's not infected. You don't need to stop and go to the hospital to see if it's infected because it's not infected. You've got the bottom layer of skin there that's still intact, and just make sure it doesn't get worse and keep an eye on it, and then just send me photos. So I have probably 10 photos of her foot as it's getting better, and I'm just messaging her, oh yeah, that looks fine. And again, I don't know any of them by their real names, so it was just rabbit and tailwind. So later on, there was a request to go from Reading Airport to Boerne, and they wanted to go to Old Station, and I was in Sacramento. So I responded to this call and said, yeah, I'll change my plans. I was going to go to Tahoe, but instead I'll go to Boerne, and then I'll go paddle at there's a state park there that you can only paddle in to get to. And so I'll drop you guys off at Boerne and then go to Ajuami, California. It's the only state park that I know of that it's the only park that I know of that you can only get there by paddling in. So really pretty. I had the whole lake to myself. But in any case, on the drive to Old Station, we had been in the car probably since Reading, so we'd probably been in the car for over 2 hours now. And I only knew them by their real names because of the requests coming in through Facebook. And so I had them, I was like, oh, by the way, since we're on the flat spot near Old Station, I said, please sign my register. And then she signed it. And I was talking while she was signing the register. And I said something like, I'm an ER and ICU nurse. And she said, wait, did you help us down in Idlewild? And I was like, I don't remember. I mean, I've helped out several hundred hikers. So I'm like, and she said, I sent you pictures of my foot. And I was like, oh yeah, I've got pictures of your foot. I showed her pictures of her foot.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's when I found out that, the rabbit and tailwind. So anyway, yes, it's been fun. I have used my my medical experience. Where I had the outdoor vegan was her trail name is Karaoke. Her trail name is Karaoke, and she had a tooth infection, and then she just had facial swelling, and I originally thought it was like maybe a bug bite or whatever, but since it was facial swelling and she was way off in Ebbets Pass, and she was still miles away from Ebbets Pass, and so she somehow got signal and sent a picture, and I said, yeah, that needs to be seen, and I went and picked her up from the top of Ebbets Pass and drove her into South Lake Tahoe, and she ended up needing, she's the outdoor vegan on Instagram. She ended up needing a double root canal. It was infected, and I think they took her off trail for over a month. I think it was like 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But I also helped her get back on trail so she went to a couple of dentist appointments, got better, she got back on trail, went up to Truckee, and then I picked her up in Donner Ski Ranch and drove her back to South Lake Tahoe for a couple of follow-up appointments. And I think I took her another time somewhere else as she proceeded north. I helped her out one more time, and then she would send requests in on the different Facebook pages. So I just was able to follow her up through Chester and Bernie and north towards even Seattle.
So cool.
So yeah.
We have about 10 minutes, but let's talk about what you're doing now with the supply. You just posted something about the resupply information for the hikers this year.
Oh well, I just created.
Talk about that.
I was yeah, I just had some. I'm a critical care nurse, so I had some time prior to my work week. I work 6 days in a row, and then I'm off for 8 days. And we haven't had a lot of snow, so I haven't been snowboarding as much. And the weather's it's been raining down here, and it hasn't been making a lot of snow up top. So I had a lot of time to just peruse through all of these resupply information. And so I basically collated probably 25 pages of 25 different blogs and websites and YouTube videos and Instagram posts, and started writing them down as a mile by mile marker. And so it's pretty extensive. I'm pretty happy with the results. I'm about 95% done.
That's
And then
cool.
I called all my local Trail Angel friends for input. So now I've got like up to date input.
Excellent.
I guess
That's what
yeah, I guess Richard
Mimi Lindsay.
Richard,
Go ahead. Yeah.
go ahead.
Mimi Lindsay was going to be on today too. She's my co-host. She's collating
Oh,
too.
sweet.
Yeah, she's trying
Uh,
to collate, so she was going to talk to you about that too, because she's doing what
yeah,
you're doing. She's really trying to get things together, the information for the hikers.
yeah.
Um, but
I already got my first pushback.
what? Your what?
I got my first pushback this morning. Someone said, you know, part of the fun is finding out all that information on your own, kind of thing. And
Right.
I'm like,
Well,
I'm not making people write this. I mean,
no,
this information is already out there. I'm not making up information. I'm just adding to it, and I'm certainly not forcing anyone to read it.
that's the thing. I mean, look, I've got a guy interviewed Charles Gutierrez on the AT.
uh,
He just started the AT in January. It's like his posts, every night he's got like a hostel or he's staying at somebody's house, or it's so easy to get
uh,
off trail and go to a restaurant, or I said, when are you going to start hiking, Charles?
yeah,
It's a little bit different. PCT, I mean, you're more out there
yeah,
in the wilderness, and that's kind of the fun of it, when you're out there and exploring and adventuring. But yeah, we'll see where it is in 20 years, and maybe there'll be, look how far it's
yeah.
progressed from the 70s.
It is. It evolves fast. Yeah,
Yeah.
I picked up. I actually he let me give him his trail name, which was Sun Pilot, but he did the PCT um, Sobo in 1973. He believes that he was one of the first people to actually do it Sobo. I think Ryback did it Sobo, but he believes that he was one of the very few first people they did it as a trio
So do you know
in 73.
Was it Scott Henderson? Scott, the guy he's done it about 12 times. He did,
No.
he did,
Mm-mm.
he did the yo-yo, he would up and then back again the same
Yeah.
season. You know him, Scott? He used to live down here in
Mm.
Santa Cruz. He was a tree guy, and then on his off, he'd work, get the money, and then he'd hike the rest of the season. But he was a
Yeah.
legend too. Can't remember his name. Scott Henderson, something.
I wouldn't say I'm a legend.
Bridget.
I'm
Well,
just having fun.
It's fun, yeah. But it's fun. I mean, it kind of inspires you, to
Yeah,
have
it does.
someone to look to, or someone to like, you know, oh, he did it, and I can do it too, and
Yeah.
It's just kind of fun.
Yeah, well, like I said, I have a lot of adventures underneath my belt, and so I know that I could not have accomplished those adventures completely solo. I had lots of friends that would take me under their wing and show me the ropes, and so I just feel like that's just part of being part of an adventure community.
Well, that's why I'm trying to do this little speaking tour from Julian to
Yeah.
Wrightwood in April. We'll see where that goes
Oh,
with
nice.
talking about
Yeah,
intuition,
I'll
local
try to come down
government.
and see you.
Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah, yeah, that'd be good. April, we start April 2nd and probably through the 7th or so. So we'll keep in touch.
And I've got to know a lot of long time trail angels. Like I don't hold a candle to them, so I've gotten to know some of them too. So if you want to get a hold of either One Speed or Jamie Tarney and Etna, or actually there's like four or five, Noel Harrison in in near Dunsmuir.
Cool.
I have index cards for all of the people I've met, and all of the trail angels I've met, so I can instantly call up Ghost down south and go, "Hey, what's going on with the Idlewild resupply?" Or Stay Gold in Tehachapi, going, "Hey, what's the water?" Or Cindy in Tehachapi, go, "What's the water situation like?"
Yeah, maybe you can give me the names of the main people there in those five towns I'll be visiting. Julian and Warner
Yep.
Springs, Idlewild, Big Bear, and Wrightwood. Yeah. And also,
Okay.
could you put
Yep.
like one or two sentences how to introduce this show for my editor so he has that to put on there, plus any links that you would like people to go to. You can just
Okay.
text that to me in Facebook or so. So
Okay.
yeah.
I just started out that Nobo page that all that information's on, and I just want to throw just the what I call pro tips, like all that Garmin information. I don't know if you had a chance to read that, but that took a while to come up
Yeah.
with that scenario of a helicopter landing
Oh,
and what you need to know, and that's also based on all of my years of adventuring too.
great, great, Jacob.
So
No, nice to know
yeah,
you. We'll keep connected,
absolutely.
and my editor will get this out in probably a day or two, and then we pass it
Yeah.
around for fun, But thank you, and we'll keep in
Right
touch.
on.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
bye bye.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
Do you